Hello, I am Xarkun and this is World of Warships Legends. Today I want to revisit a ship that I don't think I've covered in quite some time, and that is the Tier 4 Italian premium battleship Giulio Cesare, which is a fantastic Tier 4 battleship, perhaps the best Tier 4 premium battleship. I don't know, your mileage may vary with the competition out here, but after having played the Tier 4 and Tier 5 tech tree Italian battleships, I just sort of wanted to revisit this thing. I did enjoy it quite a bit at first brush, and with the upcoming Tier 4 ranked 1v1 season, this might be a ship you want to take out on the high seas because it's a highly capable battleship, and I think that boils down primarily to its maneuverability and its armor. On the one hand, the armor on this ship isn't all that fantastic. The bow is very lightly plated, so lightly plated, in fact, that I'm pretty sure most typical Tier 3 and Tier 4 battleships can actually overmatch it, but the side armor is quite tanky, and so long as you're familiar with basic angling skills, this ship is quite hard to take down. The guns also hit quite hard. The only thing it really doesn't have going for it in terms of firepower is the fact that it doesn't have the excellent sap secondaries of the tech tree line. But other than that, it is quite a fun battleship, and that maneuverability that I spoke about earlier, most of these battleships down here at Tier 4, aside from outliers like, say, the Congo on the IJN line, they're not the most maneuverable ships. They're all quite slow, and they're sluggish to turn, and all that kind of thing. Not the Giulio Cesare, though. The Giulio Cesare is quite fast. I think its top speed can go up close to 30 knots. Not quite 30 knots, but it's in the upper 20s. And then the turning circle and the rudder shift, both of those things are very, very good for a battleship. And that allows you to play a lot more in a mobile style, I guess you could say. And that's what we are going to kind of do in this game. But I do want to pause for a moment and note that two of our teammates have been taken down. Our team has captured the Bravo cap, and they're in the process of flipping Alpha. But things are just not going to go well in this game. And that's part of the reason I wanted to show you this one. Frankly, it's going to end in tragedy for me. But I hear all the time from players griping, and, fair enough, we all gripe. I have reasons to gripe about this game, everybody does. But I hear a lot of griping that says Tier 7 and Legendary tier games are just so horrible, so one-sided, the teams are so bad. And I just like to remind people that that kind of thing also happens down at the lower tiers. This game is a prime example of that. And you could say, well, people playing at Tier 7, people playing at Legendary, they should perhaps know enough about the game so that they can play at a level where one team doesn't just dominate the other, and those kind of one-sided raffle stomps or steamrolls, whatever you want to call them, they're to be expected at lower tiers like this, because these lower tiers do tend to contain a lot of players who are much newer to the game. Perhaps they only started a couple days ago and are playing their very first Tier 4. Who knows? So you would expect them to perhaps play a little bit more like they don't know exactly what they're doing. But I don't think that's the case. I think the case is that this is a free-to-play game, and there are a lot of people who play it pretty casually at all tiers. So it's just something you deal with in games of this nature. It can be irritating sometimes, but ultimately I don't think it bothers me that much. I still have fun in this game. Although, let's be real, this game in particular, this game here in the Giulio Cesare, we're off to a slow start. And our teammates are dwindling in number as time goes by. We're now down to 4 losses. But on the bright side, the enemy has lost 2, so I suppose that's okay. This Giulio Cesare out here is getting into a close quarters engagement with one of my teammates, giving that teammate flat broadside. You could see he got chunked there. That's why I said angling in this ship is quite an important thing, but the situation in this game is now quite dire. It does appear that we are probably going to lose no matter what we do, given that there are only 3 ships left floating on our team versus, what is that, 7 enemy ships? We're going to try to do what we can to finish off this enemy Giulio out here. He's giving us flat broadside. The Italian battleship guns are not supremely accurate, but there is some sense in which they make up for that inaccuracy by their great numerical count. There are a lot of these guns, in other words, so that is going to kind of come into play, and then, of course, once you get close enough to targets, it becomes a lot more difficult to miss. Right now, we're closing in on this T-22. We can see that he is tunnel visioned on our teammate there. Our teammate has just gone down the final floating blue destroyer. He took the Giulio Cesare with him, so that's good. But now it's time for the T-22 to focus on us. And down here at lower tiers, I mean, these destroyers that we're going to face in this game, these are probably guys learning the ropes. First thing you probably want to learn is you don't want to charge headfirst at a battleship when they've spotted you for so very long and you've been tunnel visioned on somebody else. You're liable to get dev-struck if that battleship player knows to switch to the high explosive, which we did there. You can see it's quite effective indeed. We've got the Dante Alighieri pulling out of the Alpha Cap. Is that the Alpha Cap, actually? It is. What is this map called? Solomon Islands? Why is the Alpha Cap in the center and Charlie and Bravo are on the flanks? Bit of an unusual setup, but I digress. It appears that the Dante Alighieri is heading in the direction of our aircraft carrier. In fact, he's got his guns pointed that way. Doesn't seem to be aware of the fact that we're here, and as a consequence, he does take quite a big slap in the broadside there. But it's not enough to take him out. It could have been, if not for the inaccuracy of this ship, and that is something you have to get used to. Nevertheless, I don't think it's something that really holds it back. Again, this is probably the most, yes, let's go with that, the most maneuverable battleship at this tier. It's very fast, and that kind of ability to run circles around the enemy battleships, I think, makes up for the fact that it may not be as accurate as others, along with the fact that it does have a lot of guns. There are 10 of them in total. We've got the Pan-Asian destroyer, the Shenyang, shooting at our CV, who is our only remaining teammate right now. Looks like the Shenyang has managed to miss the CV with torpedoes, but takes him out with his guns. And of course, that means this destroyer now has eyes for us, since we are the only enemy left floating on his screen. He's going to make a big mistake. He could have not shot his guns there and gone dark and then not pushed into me and tried to torpedo me from stealth. But since he's shooting his guns, he's going to remain spotted. And I know that he's coming in for a torpedo run. I think he turned a little bit broadside there, so we're assuming he probably has launched his torpedoes. We're altering our course significantly, and you can see he wants to turn. Maybe he hasn't launched his torpedoes yet, kind of waiting for him to commit fully, and then we blap him right there with the HE once again. We're going to turn sharply in toward his position now, thinking that when he made that final fatal turn, that's probably when he launched the torpedoes, and indeed there they are. So you can see, with a little bit of understanding of what a destroyer in that particular situation might be doing, well, it's not too difficult to dodge his torpedoes, and probably he's a newer player, but this is all to say, this little segment here, this little piece of advice, play all ship classes. you want to have been in the position of those two destroyers before, previously, in your own gameplay. I knew what those two destroyers were going for. I take it they're not very experienced, because I used to do similar things to that when I played destroyers back in the day. But playing destroyers has given me the ammunition I need to counter them in battleships. I'm not just talking about high explosive. Königsberg, on the other hand, may take notes not to go broadside to a battleship. Frankly, he's lucky he got over-penetrated 5 times and not a single one of those shells detonated inside of his citadel. But as it stands, the Königsberg and the enemy battleship out here, along with the CV, they're the only 3 ships left on the enemy team, and we could potentially carry this game. But there you see we turned in. We were anticipating Königsberg torpedoes, and we were able to successfully avoid them. But in the process, we had to give broadside to that enemy battleship, and he did blap us there. You do have to angle well in this ship. If you don't, you will be punished. But we know the Königsberg has launched his torpedoes, so it's no problem for us taking him out. We actually get the close quarters expert there, which is frankly rather amusing. And of course, the last enemy battleship just happens to be the Peter the Great, which, as I said, is one of those battleships that can overmatch our bow. We have 531 hit points left, so I don't think we're getting out of this alive. But in other circumstances, perhaps if we'd been a little bit more aggressive at the start, this could have been a carry of epic proportions. I think it was certainly an interesting game on my part, and I think it does go to demonstrate that the Giulio Cesare is indeed a very strong ship. It's a ship I like a lot, and I enjoyed revisiting it. Hope you enjoyed this video. If so, give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.